All right, I see it. Are we ready to start?
Yes, ma'am, we're ready. We're started.
Okay, thank you. So good evening, PWCS families, and welcome to the Family Engagement Series. My name is Yanette Boyd, and I am the Supervisor for Family and Community Engagement. Today's presentation is Overcoming Language Barriers, Getting Information from PWCS in Your Preferred Language. Today's presentation will be offered in the requested languages of English, Arabic, Farsi, Chinese, and Spanish. Once the interpretation slide is reviewed in all the requested languages, we will begin interpretation. So if you are on your computer, you're going to look for the interpretation button on your control bar. Once you click on it, pick your desired language. Then your icon should change. If you're on your phone, click on the Join Audio and click Call over Internet. Click on the three dots and more. Click on Language Interpretation and click on the language you want and done. At this time, the Arabic interpreter will review the slide.
Thank you. مساء الخير، نشكركم معنا على الحضور معنا اليوم بهذه الجلسة. إذا كنتوا عم تحضرونا من الكمبيوتر، رجاء الضغط على إشارة الكرة الأرضية، بعدين تختاروا الترجمة، بعدين الترجمة السماع عبر الإنترنت، بعدين الترجمة بلغتكم العربية، بتختاروا العربية في هذه الحالة. إذا كنتوا عم تشاهدونا من التليفون، الرجاء إنه تشوفوا تختاروا السماع عبر الإنترنت، وبعدين بتختاروا بتضغطوا على الإشارات الثلاثة، النقاط الثلاثة في أسفل الشاشة، وبتختاروا الترجمة اللغة المناسبة لكم، وهي بالحالة هاي اللغة العربية للسماع مباشرة باللغة المفضلة لكم. وهذه الجلسة مترجمة باللغات العربية، الفارسية، والإسبانيولية، والإضافة إلى اللغة الماندرين الشانيسي. شكرا مرة ثانية على الحضور. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, the Farsi interpreter will review the slide.
با سلام، از سری برنامه‌های تعامل و ارتباط با خانواده وصل شدید. در رابطه با رفع مشکلات زبان، خانم ینت بوید هستن که جلسه رو هدایت میکنند برای دسترسی به زبان مورد نظر که به زبان‌های مختلف این جلسه اجرا میشه و ترجمه میشه. میتونید از موارد زیر استفاده بکنید. اگر که در کامپیوتر هستین، در پایین صفحه به دنبال دکمه اینترپریتیشن بگردید. وقتی روی اون بزنید، کلیک کنید، زبان مورد نظر خودتون که فارسی هست رو میتونید انتخاب بکنید و در پایین صفحه خواهید دید که زبان مورد نظر تغییر کرد. اگر که روی تلفن خودتون هستید، قسمت جوین آدیو رو میزنید و کال اوور و بعد یک 3 نقطه پایین صفحه سمت راست هستش که روی اون کلیک میکنید. بعد از زدن روی اون، زبان مورد نظرتون فارسی هست رو پرژن یا فارسی نوشته شده انتخاب میکنید و این انتخاب انجام شد. Right?
Thank you. At this time, the Chinese interpreter will review the slide.
下午好，我们现在开始之前呢，如果您是用这个手提电脑，请在您的控制条 Control Bar 控制条那边呢，就找这个地球的这个标图，然后点击这个地球的标图，你会发现有不同的语言，就选好，点击好 Chinese Mandarin，然后再接着呢，就是选好这个就是你的语言中文，就可以在一个频道上面呢去听这个中文翻译。如果您是用手机参与我们这个今天的讲座呢，我们有就是用这个手机的一个功能。那么在手机上面呢，点击 Join Audio， 然后再点击这个叫Call over Internet，点击好这个之后选好呢，你就会直接来到一个就是控制条的一个情况，一个控制条的一个标图，是在右手旁有这个三个点的小球，这个三个点的小球点进去之后呢，就能够选好你的中文 Chinese Mandarin，就可以也是同样用手机去听这个中文翻译。谢谢，Thank you。
Thank you. At this time, the Spanish interpreter will review the slide.
Para español, en su computadora, busque el globo en la parte inferior, haga clic para activar y escoja español. El icono cambia a ES, que es español. Haga clic para listo. En su teléfono, haga clic para unirse al audio a través del Internet. Haga clic en los tres puntitos, haga clic en interpretación, escoja español y haga clic para listo. Gracias.
Thank you. Interpretation will begin now. Please click on the interpretation globe. So we will have access to the Q&A and then also the chat. So if at any point you have any questions, please, you're more than welcome to type them in the Q&A and the chat. We will have someone monitoring that. And at this time, I would like to welcome one of our presenters for this evening. Her name is Cynthia Covarrubias. She is the coordinator of interpretation and translation services here in PWCS. Welcome, Cynthia.
Janet. So welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Translation and interpretation services are why. We're bridging the language. Sorry, I got started sooner. So we're bridge the language communication gap and give multilingual students and families a voice in education. I'm also joined tonight with my counterpart, Mr. Juan Lizama, who's the second administrative coordinator for translation and interpretation services, and we'll both be taking on the presentation today. I will lead us off. So today we're going to be talking about a critical issue in education, bridging the language communication gap that too often silence multilingual students and their families. We'll explore how effective communication strategies can empower them and ensure they have a meaningful voice in their education journey. Our presentation will highlight the importance of inclusivity and the significant impact that effective communication can have on student success and family engagement. So let's begin. Our session overviews and outcomes for this evening.
I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries. The goal for this session are to provide you with a brief overview of linguistic and cultural richness in Prince William County schools. Then we will touch on the school's responsibilities and the parents' rights related to language access. And finally, we'll walk through the translation and interpretation resources in the division and how families can access those services. So our session overview, as you can see, we're going to be touching on the overview of the multicultural and linguistic tapestry, language access laws and rights, language access at the division level, and also at the school level. One. So here is our first question for the members that joined tonight. Can you guess how many countries are presented in Prince William County schools? Please write your answer in the chat. And I will take a look at
And
the
while
chat.
we do that, we're going to travel around the world and see some of those countries where families come from.
Yes. Okay, we're getting some answers here. 50, 100 and 150, 33. Any other guesses? Any other guesses? All right, 63 over 50. More guesses? All right, we'll give you a few more seconds. Any more guesses? All right, Juan, let's give us the answer. So, as you can see, we have 156 languages present in Prince William. I'm
Countries?
sorry?
Countries?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes. Countries,
Mm.
birth countries present. We are the most diverse division in Virginia and the 10th most diverse across the nation. We are rounded off with English speakers, followed by El Salvador, Afghanistan, Honduras, Guatemala, and Pakistan as our top countries where our students come from and our families come from. We are very diverse, as you can see. This is who we are servicing. This is the families that we are servicing and that we're proud to service, right? Through our translation and interpretation services. Office. And next slide, please, Juan. Can you guess how many languages families in Prince William County speak? Can you write your answer in the chat, please? I'll give you a few seconds. This is a whole different question. So let's take a look. We got 78, 87. All right, some more answers here. We'll give it a few more seconds. 25. Any other takers? 180. Ooh, that looks a little closer. Any more? Any more? We'll give it a few more seconds. All right, Juan, give us the answer. 170 was the
Here it
last one we saw.
comes.
You guys were very close. So we have 182 home languages that we represent here at Prince William County Schools. We have internally come up with a beautiful graphic that you might see at many at the schools that we've shared. It's a Power BI tool, but we've actually gone out and actually also worked with many of the schools, so you might see it in a presentation. But as you can see, our languages, Juan is coming to them. We're very diverse. Again, we have English speakers, Spanish, we have Urdu speakers, Dari, Arabic, Pashto. Pashto is here we are categorized into two, but we understand Pashto is one language. Northern and Southern, which is a little different, but Amharic and Farsi and Twi are essential languages that we translate and interpret at the division level. We have Spanish, we have Urdu, Dari, Arabic, Pashto, Farsi, Korean, Vietnamese, and Chinese at this time. But this speaks to what we are made of, right? Prince William County Schools and its diversity, 182 languages, 156 countries. We have a handful, 90,000 plus students. So our office really works on different projects and getting the information out there. We are part of, our communications team with messaging through, you've probably seen some of our work through school status, you've seen our work through the family engagement series. Definitely we translate from the invitation up, so it's always great to have that, right? Next slide, please, Juan, unless you have something to add here.
Just also we collect the languages for verbal correspondence and written correspondence. And so what this means is that families have specifically told us that whenever they received communication verbally or written, that they would like to receive those communications in the languages that you see here.
Yes.
All right, and let me.
All right. So some engagement. Why do you think it is important for Prince William County Schools to have this information about where families come from and the language they speak? If you can write your answers in the chat, please. And we'll go through some of the different things. Well, as you are writing your answers, I will also be sharing just some of the different, why we collect and why it's important, right? If you can share as well, Juan will be kind of calling out in between the chat a little bit, right? So collecting family background data benefits schools by enabling tailored instruction, efficient resource allocation, right? That's how we get funding out to the schools and information, and identification of achievement gaps to better serve diverse student populations. This data improves communication and the relationships that families, fostering community engagement, like these wonderful series, special education series. We have a lot of involvement when we are getting this information together, and more inclusive learning environment for our students. That way we can also tailor a lot of the language apps, different things that we're using at the schools. It also allows Prince William County to identify systemic barriers to education and establish relationships with families and put systems in place to eliminate those roadblocks, right? Finally, the diverse background of students provides rich opportunities to enrich the curriculum, making it more engaging and relevant to everyone, incorporating diverse perspectives that foster inclusive and globally aware learning environments, right? That's what we're here for, awareness, to make sure that we are also providing, right, for our children in their languages. Some of the educational benefits that we've seen also is that we're tailoring instruction. The data allows schools to identify students who may need additional supports in English learning through ESOL services, or who benefit from culturally relevant pedagogy, knowing the family's background can inform curriculum development and teaching methods to better meet diverse learning styles and needs. Right? Resource allocation, which we've kind of gone through, understanding the linguistic and cultural makeup of our population, curriculum enrichment. We are improving communication as well, right? We're building strong relationships. Juan, as I'm going to, can you share some of the stuff that's come through with the chat? I'll give it a little pause.
Right, we have two answers. The first one is to ensure all families are active participants in their child's education and have a voice in the decision making. And the second answer says to make well awareness for all and build good relationships.
Right. And this is all in the nature of fostering, right? We also have some legal and ethical considerations that we'd like to put out there, which is compliance with laws, which means schools may be required by law to collect this data for reporting for purposes related to equity and access. The data may require for federal funding or for compliance with civil rights regulations. Also, equity inclusion. Collecting this information is a crucial step towards ensuring equitable access to education for all students, regardless of their background. It allows schools to identify and address any systemic barriers to learning, right? So that's why it's important for us here at Prince William County Schools to have this information, where families are coming from, the languages that they speak, the makeup, right? So we can better address their needs with different implementation of different programs. And so I think it's great. Myself, I come from California, which is a very diverse state, but definitely Virginia is near and dear to my heart with the diversity, especially here at the schools. So that's what I'm sharing. Juan, I'm going to pass it over to you so we can continue the conversation.
Thank you, Cynthia. So now we're going to move into this section to talk about laws around language access. And we are going to start with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin in federally funded programs. Recipients of such funding must ensure that families with limited English proficiency can access and utilize information, resources, or services in a way that it's relevant and beneficial to families. So this may include translated documents and interpretation services to families. Next, it's the Dear Colleague letter on English learner students and limited English proficient parents. So this guidance mandates that schools identify the language needs of both the students and parents. Prince William schools do this through the home language survey form that is completed during a student registration, and that's where we get the data that you just saw in the previous slides. So schools are then required to provide free interpretation and translation services from trained and competent professionals. And then there is a PWCS regulation 600-4 titled English Learner Program. So this regulation specifies that individual education program teams must consider the language needs of all English learners with special needs. So before IEPs and 504 plans or discipline meetings, schools must review parental responses from the home language survey to understand and address the parents' communication needs. If the home language is other than English, interpretation services must be offered during those meetings. All right, so we just talked about the school's division's obligation to identify students, parents, and guardians' language needs and to provide those services free of charge. Now we will talk about what those services are. We'll start with a brief overview for the division level, and then we will provide details at the school level. Interpretation services are provided in the top languages based on the verbal correspondent languages that you saw earlier in the earlier slide for in-person and virtual events at the division level. Those languages are Arabic, Chinese, Mandarin, Farsi, Korean, Pashto, Spanish, Urdu, and Vietnamese. So the information distributed to the PWCS community about those events is usually accompanied by a form that families can complete to request interpretation services in advance to allow event organizers to secure those resources in time for the event. So, and we have a few attendees here this evening who follow this process to secure interpretation services. So, as you heard in the beginning of the presentation, in a virtual platform like the one we are on now, separate channels are preset for each of the languages requested, and attendees then choose their preferred language to hear the interpretation. Yes.
Can you also add a little bit about what our process would be for sign language?
Yes. So for sign language, the staff can make those requests directly to the vendors. And so when families contact the event organizers or the schools, then the staff can submit those requests for sign language as well. So for in-person events, the interpretation is usually done simultaneously through headsets, or in some cases through what is called whispering, where the interpreter is close to the person needing interpretation and conveys the English message in a non-English language. So for individual oral communication with families, central office staff have resources available to support all languages through working with qualified bilingual staff interpreters on site or outside language services providers for on-demand and pre-scheduled meetings. So for phone calls or unscheduled visits, for example, and in the absence of a qualified interpreter on site, then staff has that ability to provide an interpreter over the phone through a three-way call to assist families. So for translation, again, at the division level, many of the essential documents and communications into the 9 languages mentioned above are translated by a team of translators and also outside language services agencies. Many of the emails, text or documents that PWCS families receive, and the web content on the PWCS public website generated at the division level are also translated. And so this is an example of what the languages look like in the public website. So there is the main English content page, and then there is the languages on the sidebar. So if I click on any of these languages, it will give me the content in that language. And so these are specifically translated by our team of human translators. And so we have here another example of the content that has been translated by our translation team. And so the languages are over here at the top. And again, if I click on one of the languages, it will give me that content in that language. Because the resources are limited, we are not able to translate all the generated content in every language with human translators. Therefore, PWCS website and the platform used to send emails and text messages to families support the automatic translation of that information. And so to access the auto translation on the website, there's this auto translate on the top right of the page. And so if you click on that, it'll reveal a drop-down menu with the languages that the content is available. So if I click on Amharic, it automatically translates that content. Now, we need to make a disclaimer that The automatic translation uses Google Translate, and the translation may have some linguistic and meaning inaccuracies. It does give the reader a gist of the information, but when in doubt, please contact the program staff that you are interested in. And so to go back to the English content, you will click on Show Original, and that will take you back to the English content. Any questions so far? Okay. So at the school level, the top languages are supported for a school-wide communications. Schools also use the communication platform that I mentioned in the previous slide, which also supports that auto translation for some of their languages and messaging. For, excuse me. So for written communication with individual families, the language supported are based on the written correspondence languages fields that we talked about earlier. Teachers also have access to a two-way communication system, which automatically translates text and email messages to parents. So parents receive the messages based on their language preference in the system. They can write back in their preferred language, and teachers then receive those responses in English. Again, some of those nuances may be lost in translation because it is done through Google Translate. So for interpretation, all the languages are supported as well for individual communication with families. And as I mentioned earlier, for special education meetings and 504 meetings. And those are provided based on, again, the oral correspondence languages that are in the student information system. So for families who may come into the school and they are not able to communicate in English, this is a poster, the assistance in any language poster that is displayed at every school and public-facing PWCS building, where families can point to their language, and so that staff can provide interpretation for them.
I have a question for you. If, as a parent of Prince William County School, how would I set my language preference? Where would I go, or how would I go about doing that?
So some parents can definitely verbalize, right, the language that they speak. They may speak some English, but they don't feel comfortable to hold a conversation. So, but to ask for a language, they would feel comfortable with that. But that poster that I just displayed also can help in identifying the language. Also, the staff can call the interpreter language line and help identify the language for the families or parents. So when should parents ask for interpretation? Definitely, we recommend that for unscheduled visits. Again, if you come to the school without an appointment, you can ask for an interpreter, and then the staff should be able to tap on qualified interpreters in the building. And again, also, they can use the telephonic interpretation line that is always available on demand. They can also request an interpreter if a meeting has been scheduled to talk to school staff and also for in-person and virtual meetings. Also, if you are calling the school, again, you can request an interpreter, and the staff has that ability to do a three-way call to provide an interpreter over the phone. And then for a school-wide event, also you can request interpretation, and the schools have equipment that are called headsets that allow for attendees to listen to that interpretation over the headsets. All right, and just to summarize our session, so PWCS students and families come from 156 countries and speak 182 languages. And PWCS is committed to creating a welcoming environment for all students and families, engaging them regardless of their linguistic and cultural background. So schools must identify their preferred languages for families and provide communications in those languages free of charge. And families can request interpretation services when calling, visiting, and attending school and division-wide events. So a strong home and family collaboration, involvement, and participation are crucial for the success of all students. So let's work together to make it happen. And you can definitely contact Cynthia and myself to the contact information on the screen. We also have the translation and interpretation website on the PWCS website. And we also have a Spanish official PWCS Facebook page. So please make sure that you stay connected through that.
I would like to take this time to just say thank you so much to Juan and Cynthia. As they mentioned before, I work very, very closely with both of them. When I tell you family engagement would not be as well received from everyone, that is an understatement, simply because as we prepare these sessions for you all, they are the ones that are helping coordinate, our interpreters for the evenings. They're the ones that are translating the flyers. They're the ones that are translating the websites. And so they've been a crucial piece of family engagement here in Prince William County Schools. So I really, truly value, the services that they bring to you, our families. And so thank you guys so much for all the work that you do. It does not go unnoticed. And so Does anyone have any final questions for Mr. Lizama and Ms. Covarrubias?
I have a quick question for Juan.
Okay.
Juan, can you walk us through how parents would change their language preference, either through parent view or registration, just so parents have that knowledge if they ever want to switch to a language that's, or they don't have their language preference in there as well, or it needs an update?
Yes, great question. Thank you for that, Cynthia. So having the languages updated in the hub is very important. Again, because we relied on that data to send communications to families. So there are two ways that those languages can be updated to ensure that that families have the languages that they preferred. So one way is to log into their parent view account and go to the verbal and written correspondence languages and see what languages are there and if they want to keep those or if they want to change those to a different language. So some families may be getting some notifications or some calls because there are some languages that are missing. So we need help from the community to ensure that every student has all that information completed. The second way that those languages can be updated is through the school registrar. You contact the school registrar and you can ask them to help update those languages, and they can assist you with that.
Thank you, Juan. I think we have a question, Janet, in the chat from Milagros, she's asking if she can speak in Spanish.
Sure. Señora Milagros, ¿puede hablar, por favor?
Señora Milagros, si se quita, usted está sin audio, si se puede hacer unmute, puede hablar.
Señora Milagros.
Donde dice audio, usted tendría que quitar la rayita que tiene o la X. Se tiene que abrir el micrófono para poder escucharla.
Susan, are you able to unmute her?
I did. She should be able to unmute and talk. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can unmute. I can ask her to.
Señora Milagro, se le está mandando una notificación para que se pueda abrir el micrófono.
All right. So the Arabic interpreter, did you have your hand raised?
Emily's indicating that they don't have the ability to unmute. There is no microphone.
They don't, but I can give them access to, and I gave it to Miss Milagros.
Okay. Arabic host says no, Janet. Señora Milagro, ¿usted puede escribir en el chat si tiene alguna pregunta? Okay. She's gonna write it.
Mm.
Okay, I don't see her question. So, what I'll do, oh, there we
There
go.
it is.
Mhm.
So she wants to know how she can talk to her child's counselor. But who doesn't speak Spanish? Can I give my answer in Spanish? Or
You can give it in both languages, since I know you speak
yeah,
English and Spanish.
Okay. So, señora Milagros, le aconsejaría de que pues se comunique con la
Consejera.
el enlace de padres de la escuela para que ella pueda ayudarle a hacer una cita con el consejero si el enlace de padres pues no le puede servir como intérprete, me imagino que ella definitivamente va a ayudarle, él o ella, a conseguir el intérprete para que usted pueda comunicarse con él o la consejera.
You gonna say it in English now?
So what I'm advising Ms. Milagro is that she can contact the school parent liaison who can help her schedule an appointment with the counselor, and that if she or he cannot serve as the interpreter, then she can definitely help secure an interpreter for her.
All right, do we have any additional questions? So this session is being recorded, as I said at the beginning, and so I will send a follow-up email with today's recording as well as today's PowerPoint presentation. On there, of course, my email address is there. If you have any questions about any of the information today, you're more than welcome to reach out. Ms. Pytel, can you please put the survey in the chat? We are going to ask you to please let us know how we're doing. We want to make sure that, we have programming that, you would like to see in the future. So when we put the survey in the chat, we're just going to ask you just take a few minutes to go ahead and fill that out. All right, so the survey is in the chat. And so if there are no additional questions, again, thank you so much to Juan and Cynthia for joining us this evening. We appreciate you coming on and speaking about this important topic for our PWCS families. Everyone else, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go ahead and end the webinar?